If you get a chance, try to see Mrs. Palmieri today. She's really into the zoo theme. So once again, although Mrs. Tam and Mrs. Renner were extra wacky yesterday, if you get a chance, try to see Mrs. Palmieri today. She is into the zoo theme. Enjoy our guest reader, and 3rd and 4th grade, we will let you know when you can transition. Have a great day there, everybody.
Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Reading with Mr. Solano. Today I'll be reading If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss. It's a pretty good zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, and the fellow who runs it seems proud of it too. But if I ran the zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, I'd make a few changes. That's just what I'd do. The lions and tigers and that kind of stuff they have up here are now not quite good enough. You see, things like these in just any old zoo, they're awfully old-fashioned. I want something new. So I'd open each cage, unlock every pen, let the animals go, and start all over again. And somehow or another, I think I could find some beasts of a much more unusual kind. A 4-footed lion's not much of a beast. The one in my zoo will have 10 feet at least. 5 legs on the left, 5 more on the right. Then people will stare and they'll say, "What a sight! This zookeeper, Newkeeper Gerald's quite keen. That's the gold darnest lion I'd ever seen." My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people talk. My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people gawk at the strangest odd creatures that ever did walk. I'll get for my zoo a new sort of hen, who roosts in another hen's topknot, and then another roost in that topknot of his hen, and then another of his, and another of his, and so forth and upward and onward. Gee whiz! But that's just the start. I'll do better than that. They'll come see me next day in my zookeeper's hat, coming into my zoo with an elephant cat. They'll be so surprised they'll all swallow their gum. They'll ask, when will they see these strange animals to come? Where do you suppose he gets things from? These animals all have such very odd faces. I'll bet he must hunt them in rather odd places. And that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. If you want to catch beasts you don't see every day, you'll have to go places quite out of the way. You'll have to go places that no others can get to. You'll have to go get cold, and you'll have to get wet too. Up the past North Pole, where the frozen winds squeal, I'll go and I'll hunt a skiggly mobile and bring back a family of what do you know? And that's how my new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will grow. I'll hunt in the mountains of Zamba Montant with helpers who all wear their eyes in a slant, and capture a fine fluffy bird called the buzzard who only eats custard with sauce made of mustard, and also a very fine beast called Flustered who only eats mustard with sauce made of custard. I'll catch them in caves, I'll catch them in brooks, I'll catch them in crannies, I'll catch them in nooks that you don't read about in geography books. I'll catch them in countries that no one could spell, like the country of Madafapadapapel. In a country like that, if a hunter is clever, he'll hunt up some beasts that you never saw ever. I'll load up 5 boats with family of jotes, whose feet are like crows but wear squirrel skin coats, and sit down like dogs but have voices like goats, excepting they can't sing those very high notes. And then I'll go down to the winds of Nantucket and capture a family of lunkets in a bucket. Then people will say, now I like that boy heaps. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, is growing by leaps. He captures them wild, he captures them meek. He captures them slim, he captures them sleek. What do you suppose he will capture next week? I'll capture one tiny, I'll capture one cute. I'll capture a deer that no hunter would shoot. A deer that's so nice he could sleep in your bed if it weren't for those horns that he has in his head. And speaking of horns that are just a bit queer, I'll bring back a very old family of deer. A father and mother, two sisters, a brother, whose horns are connected from one to another, whose horns are so mixed they can't tell them apart, can't tell where they end and can't tell where they start. Each deer's mighty puzzled. He's very yet found if his horns are hers or the other way around. I'll capture them fat, I'll capture them scrawny, I'll capture them scraggly foot milligotoni, a high-stepping animal, fast as the wind, from the blistering sands of the desert of Zend. This beast is the beast that the brave chieftain rides when they want to go fast to find some place to hide. And milligotoni is fine from my zoo, and so as a chieftain, I'll bring one back too. In the far western part, southeast of North Dakota, lives a very fine animal called the iota. But I'll capture one who's even much finer in the northeastern part of South Carolina. When people see him, they will say, now by thunder, this new zoo, McGrew Zoo, is really a wonder. Most beasts are quite friendly, but still, in some lands, some beasts are too dangerous to catch with bare hands. For those that are ugly and vicious and mean, I'll build a bad animal catching machine. It's rather expensive to build such a kit, but with a hunter can never get a bit. A zoo should have bugs. I'll capture a twirl, whose legs are snarled up in a terrible snarl. And then I'll go out and I'll capture some chugs, some keen shooter, mean shooter, bean shooter bugs. I'll go to the African island of Yurka and bring back a tizzle-top tuft mazurka, a kind of canary with quite a tall throat. His neck is so long if he swallows an oat. For breakfast the first day of April, they'll say, it has to go down in such a very long way, that it gets to his stomach by the 15th of May. I'll bag a big bug who's very surprising, a fellow who has a propeller for rising, and zooming around, making cross-country hops from Texas to Boston with only 2 stops. Now that sort of thing for bugs is just tops. And when I've caught him, then the next thing you'll know, I'll go up and I'll capture a wild tic-tac-toe. With X that win and zeros that lose, he'll look mighty good in this zoo of McGrews. I'll bring back a gusset, a gherkin, a gasket, and also a gotch from the wilds of Nantasket. An 8 Persian princess will carry the basket, but what their names are I don't know, so don't ask it. In a cave in Khartoum lives a beast called the Natch. There's no other hunter been able to catch. He's hidden for years in his cave with a pout, and no one's been able to make him come out. But I'll coax him out with a wonderful meal that's cooked by my cooks on my cooker mobile. They'll fix up a dish that is just to his taste. 3 chicken croquettes made of library paste. Then sprinkle with peanut chucks, pickled with spice, then baked 600 degrees and then iced. This mighty hard cooking to cook up some feast, but that's how the new zoo, McGrew Zoo, gets beasts. I'll go to the faraway mountains of Tusk, near the river of Noopsk, and I'll bring back an oopsk, a thing on the boopsk, who's only eats rhubarb and corn on the coops. Then people will flock to my zoo in a moopsk. McGrew, they will say, does a very wonderful joopsk. He hunts with such vim, he hunts with such vigor. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, gets bigger and bigger. And speaking of birds, there's a Russian Paluski whose head ski is red ski and belly is blue ski. I'll get one from them for my Zooski McGrewski. Then the whole town will gasp. Why this boy never sleeps. No keeper before ever could keep. There's no telling what young fellow will do, and then just show them I'll sail to Katroo and bring back an Ikachu, a peep, a prue, a nurgle, a nerd, and a seersucker too. I'll hunt the jungles of Hipponohungus and bring back a flock of wild Bippobungus. The Bippobungus from Hippohungus are better than those down in Dippododungus and smarter than those in Nippononungus, and that's why I'll catch them in Hippohohungus instead of those other Nungus and Dungus. And people will say they've seen these blip-bounding zookeeper, newskeeper, simply astounding. The zookeeper, new keeper is simply astounding. He travels so far that you'd think he would drop. So when do you suppose this young fellow will stop? Stop? Well, I should. But I won't stop until I've captured Fizzle Mama Whizzle Madill, the world's biggest bird from the island of Gawk, who only eats pine trees and spits out the bark. And boy, when I get him back to my home park, the whole world will say young McGrew's made his mark. He's built a zoo better than Noah's Ark. These wonderful, marvelous beasts that he chooses may have had him the greatest of all McGrewskis. Wow, they're all cheer. What this zoo must be worth. It's the gold darnest zoo on the face of the earth. Yes, that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. I'll make a few changes if I ran the zoo. Thank you for listening, boys and girls. This is one of my favorite books. I hope you enjoyed it.